Once again, we'd like to welcome everyone to Randy and Candy Yao's Extreme Desire podcast, where we meet, talk, learn, and hear from some of the legends and people in the real world of hunting, where we keep things down to earth with real people. This week, we're going to be meeting with Daniel and Andrea Richens with R&K Hunting Company. So, go ahead and introduce yourselves to me.
Okay, so I'm Daniel Richens. This is my wife, Andrea, and we're the owners of R&K Hunting Company. So we guide in Utah, Wyoming, New Mexico for all species, deer, elk, moose, antelope, mountain lion, bear. Yeah, we run quite a few hunters a year from this location, the South Fork Lodge here in Utah we're at right now, all the way up, clear up to Cody, Wyoming, through various camps and wall tent hunts, horseback hunts. So we're kind of scattered through those three states, and that's kind of what we do for a living. We've been doing it 20 years, and we've gone from the hunting side, when the hunt's over, to doing corporate retreats and events like what you guys are putting on right now. Mm-hmm. We have a couple locations that we do those at in the off season, and that's kind of what we do. We've been pretty fortunate and pretty busy, but it's a good life.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of how I met you guys. Is my cousin, I call him Denny, his name's Dennis Smith, mm-hmm. Is one of your guides in Wyoming. Mm-hmm. And so I met him at the Mule Deer Foundation 3 years ago and said, I'm looking to do a camp in Utah. Do you have any ideas? And he introduced me to Travis, but we call him Cheeto. Yep. And that was the end of that story. It worked out perfect. We love it here. So
yeah. No, it's been good. It's pretty neat what you guys do for these ladies, and we're glad we can help out with the location and supply you guys with what you need to teach these gals what they need to do to get out on the hill and hunt. So It's pretty cool.
It's perfect. You have everything that we need here and more. So yeah, like I was talking last night, I came here thinking, well, I'm going to hike up and down that hill 10 times a day. I might lose a little weight, and instead the food is so good here that
yeah, you'll gain it. Don, he puts plenty of food out there.
He does.
So that's good. I'd rather throw food away than people go hungry. So
right.
And he does a good job. He's a phenomenal cook and a crazy hard worker.
Yeah, very much.
It's hard enough guiding for 5 days, but the cooks have a harder job. They're up earlier, they go to bed later, and
right.
I wouldn't want to be a cook.
So tell me a little bit about the hunts, the different areas that you have, Wyoming, New Mexico here, kind of with the...
Yeah, so this is kind of our, we do probably 50% of our hunts for the year out from this location on multiple ranches, so... we can have some fairly large groups here at the lodge, but they disperse and hunt separate ranches. Okay. So we'll start early August, mid-August with archery deer, and then early September we'll start doing archery elk, and then transition to rifle deer and elk, and we can hunt clear through November 30th for elk and November 10th for deer. So we're going in multiple camps that whole time. And Wyoming has a whole nother set of dates and different camps and different guides but yeah, we can take you on whatever type of hunt you're looking at. If it's a level 5 physical hunt, if needs to be a lower end physical hunt, and anything in between, we have pretty much whatever somebody's looking for. We can cater to you. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
And how many guides do you keep on?
Well, so from August to November, between all three states, we're probably running somewhere between 55 and 70 guides.
Oh, wow.
Every week.
Wow.
That are guiding every single week. So, and some weeks even more than that. So just out of this camp, there'll be weeks we'll have 20 guides just here.
That's insane.
And then we'll have a camp down south, a camp in Wyoming, 5 different wall tent camps in northern Wyoming from Afton all the way up to Cody. So, and a lot of the times those weeks are, every week we have a hunt in every one of those camps. So, and I kind of just bounce around. So I'll be here for a week, I'll be in New Mexico for a week, then I'll be on a horse in the middle of Wyoming for a week, then I'll be back down here, and I just kind of chase, different clients and different groups around. So, yeah, it gets pretty busy, but it's fun. meet a lot of really cool people.
Oh, yeah. No, there's some great people in this industry. That's for sure.
Oh, some of the best. Yeah. Some of our best friends most of our best friends have been hunters that we've been introduced to, and we've been friends since we started for 20 years. So, yeah. About everybody that leaves here leaves a friend. I can think of very, very few that haven't. So,
right. That's cool.
20 years.
I mean, that says something for you.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yeah. So I take care of all the book work, make sure all of our hunters get what they need and that they have all the information they need before they come. If they fly into Salt Lake City, that's typically where they'd fly in for here or Wyoming. I get their flight arrangements, make sure someone's there to pick them up and bring them to the lodge. Once they get here, I printed out a schedule so that Cheeto, he's kind of our main guy here, that helps us, and he takes care of it, and then he'll start putting the hunter with the guide, and then it kind of turns it over to them. But for about a year, or from whenever they book, I talk to them. I call them about a month before they come out, check on them, about 2 weeks before they come out and check on them, send them emails in between, just letting them know that we're excited and that we want them to be here.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So it's worked good.
Yeah, she does. I take care of everything on the hill, or I delegate what needs to take care on the hill, and she does everything behind the scenes. It's much harder work behind the scenes than it is on the mountain.
It takes a lot of organization
good.
and keeping it
Tremendous amount, yeah. And juggling 5 kids, so
exactly.
we're going to football games and basketball games and dance recitals, and, and then peeling out and going and hunting somewhere and, and making it work. But
it's been good.
Yeah.
And so do you hunt? Have you grown up hunting?
Yeah, so not really grown up hunting. I actually grew up on a dairy farm.
Oh, cool.
And my dad's family owned a dairy. And so that was kind of what I knew. A little bit about horses. My dad got into like draft horses and pulling horses and things when I was younger. But I didn't go out and hunt. That was kind of the boy deal. The girl stayed home. But when I started to date him, I kind of knew that that's where this was headed. This is his life, his love, his passion. This is where you just know he's in his element here. So I kind of knew that's where we were going, but I still, because taking care of the kids and doing everything, I didn't really get out and hunt. Our kids are getting bigger now, so now we can leave them for a little bit. So I've now hunted 2 years in a row. Both years have been mule deer. My first year, not last year, but the year before, I killed a mule deer at 6'5".
Yeah,
I can't remember.
606 yards.
Whoa.
606 yards.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
But that all had to do with the guide.
Yeah.
But this is a funny story. So he is so good at videoing. Like he has his video camera out and he is videoing everything. He can show you any hunter that he's guided, how the shot was, everything. And I laid down to start watching for this deer, and he kept saying, "Can you see it?" And I kept picking my head up away from the scope. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I need to see it first with my eyes so I know where to put the scope." And he was like, "Hun, that is not what you do. Get your head down." And finally I said, "Fine, I'm not doing it." And I just put the gun down and put everything down and like stopped. And he was like, "I'm sorry, please pick up the gun." And I was like, "Okay." So I picked it back up and I shot it, and I was like, "Oh, wow, that was like so cool, you know?" Yeah. And he turned and he goes, "I did not record one part of that."
Oh,
and
no.
I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I know.
I'm your wife, and you totally forgot. You never missed that.
Because he was so excited.
I know.
I was,
think so.
and I was, I was kind of jumping on her a little bit, and she just sat up and tipped the gun over and says, "I'm done. You're gonna calm down, or I'm not gonna shoot." And I said, "Okay, I'm sorry. Will you please get back under the gun and let's see if we can shoot this
And then
deer."
some of the hunters he's taken out, they're like, "He doesn't say I'm sorry to us. He just keeps on it." Yeah, so that was fun. And then last year we took kind of all of our kids as a group out. So that was fun too. Our kids are getting old enough that they can draw a tag. And we don't take, I think Daniel was mentioning this, but we don't take them on anything that he leases. It's everything just, public ground that we're hunting.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of the ground that we lease, I don't let any family, friends, anybody hunt it.
Yeah.
It's clients only.
Yep.
We find a big deer or a big elk, it's going to clients. So
Yeah.
we'll never come in and, shoot something off of the ranch. The
Right.
the few times that we ever had, it's been a management deer that I've given
Okay,
to
right.
a nephew or a grandpa or something like that.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
Sure.
any of our trophy stuff, it goes to clients. So,
Yep.
yep, we hunt with public ground with everybody else and have a great time doing it. So,
Yeah, it is
That's
fun.
yeah, it's fun.
It's a great family activity. It
Absolutely.
really is.
Oh,
and
yeah.
our family does love it. Even our girls have kind of gotten into it. Our oldest daughter, she has hunted the last couple years as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's
Yeah.
been good. We now have 3 that can hunt.
Oh.
So
Yeah, 3 out of the 5.
Yep.
So
Awesome.
they'll all end up hunting when
They
they're old
will,
enough. But it's
yeah.
it's fun. We've
No
been
better way to
pretty
grow
lucky.
up. It really,
Absolutely.
when we look at our grandkids and our kids, they all hunt, and you got them out there in God's beautiful country. They learn how to harvest their own food. They learn
Yeah.
how to be tough and climb hills and provide for themselves and their families, and
Yeah.
and they learn respect and appreciation for the animals. So, I mean, raising kids like that that's the
Yeah.
best.
Yeah, and they're great kids. They listen to us really well, and we try to instill them. Each one of these deer and elk that someone's shooting is putting food on our table. That's how we make our
Yeah.
living. So, I mean, we have the utmost respect for the animals that we hunt, and we manage them very, very strictly. And if we have a hard winter, we're feeding, and we supplement during the summer, and wound loss policies. If someone wounds an animal, then we'll hunt that particular animal for 5 days, and we don't shoot another one. The hunt's over if you wound an animal, and we've got some pretty expensive blood tracking dogs, and we're able to recover a lot of those animals. So
Yeah.
that's very low percentage of animals that are wounded, because we just won't take an unethical shot. We make everybody shoot before their hunt, and we know what their effective range is. If they can shoot at 300, we'll let them shoot at 300. If they can't hit the plate at 300, we don't let them shoot at 300.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Right.
we know before they go on the field, what they're capable of doing. So yeah, we take that pretty serious.
We've
but-
donated a lot of meat to homeless
Yeah.
shelters
Oh, wow.
and different places like that. If the hunter leaves and does not want all of the meat, then whatever's left we will take to a homeless shelter and donate that.
Wow.
Yeah, we got married, been married 17 years or so.
Yeah.
And we lived off of deer and elk our whole life,
Sure.
Yeah.
I have 200 beef cows, and I have elk in my freezer.
Yeah, that's so
I don't
true,
have, we live off deer and elk, and if a hunter is flying in and only wants to take a certain portion of the meat home, then we still require him to pay for the cut and wrap, and then we put it in cold storage till the season's over. And then at the end of the season, we take all of that to the homeless shelters in Salt Lake.
Wow.
And last year we donated almost 20,000 pounds of meat.
Holy cow.
A lot.
That's
of meat.
amazing.
A lot of
Yeah.
meat.
Wow.
So that's pretty neat to do that too.
Yeah.
You bet.
So we're using these animals, every part of them. So
Yeah.
it's
That's
pretty
really
cool.
cool. So how'd you get into leasing, hunting, guiding?
Oh, well, I mean, I always wanted to do it. Family growing up didn't have any land or anything like that, and we just always hunted public land, and it's always something that I wanted to get into. So I started calling all these outfitters that I knew and offering, seeing if they'd hire me. And I was probably only 14 at the time, so they would use me for some scouting and stuff throughout the summer, but I was way too young to take a guy out on the hill, and I felt I could, but they wouldn't hire me up. They used me as a packer, so I'd help find these animals throughout the summer, and then while the hunting season was going on, they would actually, before cell phones, they would call the high school, and they would buzz whatever class I was in. I remember multiple times being in math or being in
Well, that'd be a
some
good
other
one to be
class.
in.
Yeah. And they would buzz me to the office and say, you have a phone call, and I'd go to the office, and it'd be an outfitter saying, we just shot an elk, this is where he's at. And I'd get in my car, drive home, get the truck and trailer, load the horses in, and go pack it off the hill for them. And they'd give me $25 or whatever they gave me. And I did that for, until I was old enough to start guiding for these guys. And so that's kind of how I got my foot in the door. Then my first hunting lease I got when I was 16. And it's within a mile of where we're sitting here. I worked for one of my best friend's dad, a local rancher around here, and we cross-fenced a section of ground. So we put up 2 miles of fence and it took us about a year and a half to do it. We cut all of the cedar posts by hand off cedar trees. He wanted a cedar post every 5 steels, and dug all the holes by hand and put it up. And I traded him. I didn't take any money at all. I did all that work, and I traded him for a year's worth of the deer hunt and a horse. And that's how I got going. And I took 3 guys that my grandpa had knew from Salt Lake City, and I took off school and missed football practice and took them hunting deer. And then the next year I was able to add a little bit more ground to it and just kind of slowly grow it to where we are now. So
That's amazing. That is truly amazing.
Yeah, it's been we've worked really hard for what we've got, and we've had a lot of lucky breaks and a lot of good people along the way. So
Definitely.
yeah, it's been pretty good. So there's been times, throughout our career that we've second guessed what we were doing, because we were barely scraping by, and there were some times that I was really thinking of. I mean, I was doing everything in the off season to supplement it, framing, plumbing, cement work, all kinds of construction work to
Crane
try
company.
crane,
We
and
tried
tried
that.
everything under the sun to supplement the hunting, but it always would go back to getting another lease and getting more clients and doing shows, and then we just kind of grew it to where it's at now, to where we've got kind of a really good base clientele. We don't do any shows anymore as far as traveling and doing shows. We'll do 8 or 10 shows that go on the Outdoor Channel, Sportsman's Channel, different networks, with Wounded Warriors and some things like that throughout the year. But we've been very fortunate and met some very cool people along the way.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it's got going. So
It's very cool. Very cool. So tell me a little bit about how you guys met.
So he's a couple years older than I was in school, and so I knew of him in school, but I didn't really talk to him or anything. But I remember telling my friends, I'm going to be a Richens one day. And they were like, what? And I was like, that's the coolest name and the coolest family. So I still wanted to be that, even when I was younger. And he had just graduated, and I was just finishing my sophomore year. And I was downtown on Main Street in Colville, and I was actually chasing his best friend. I really liked him, and Daniel kind of got in between us, and he asked me about my school ring at the time, and I just barely got it for Christmas. And he was like, that's so cool. I'm like, thanks. And he's like, let me see that. And he handed me this ratty old hat he had on his head. And he's like, let's swap. And I was like, ooh, okay, let's swap. So we did, but that definitely started something that we always had friends that were the same people, but we never had hung out. So it was fun.
I knew if I took her ring, she'd have to at least call me one more time.
Very sneaky.
Yes.
So.
And then we dated for about 5-6 years, and then got married and waited a couple years before we had our first boy. And this is just what we've known since then.
And you have
Been
5.
wonderful. 5 kids.
That's amazing.
Our oldest is 15, and our youngest is 6. He will start first grade in the fall.
So you stay very, very,
yeah,
very, very
so
busy.
It's been so fun.
Yeah, she works a lot harder than I do.
No.
Manages all of the kids and all the hunters, and then I get to take them up on the hill. So.
It's been good. We've been really lucky.
Yeah, we have been very lucky. Yep. Met some this industry is filled with some of the nicest people, and the most down to earth, grateful people that of almost any industry that I've ever been involved in.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
if you're going to be in one, this is a fantastic one to be in.
Right.
So.
We have made some great friends as we had a few of our later kids. For Cash, he's our youngest, and we had a good friend that came out and started hunting with us. Actually, when he started hunting with us, we were kind of nervous about him. We had a lease up in Montana, and he called Daniel and said, I've done a lot of research on you. We didn't even know the guy. And Daniel's like, okay. And he was like, and I just want you to know that I am I'm going to be a hard client. And Daniel's like, great, I like hard clients. This will be good.
Give me a challenge.
And now we've been best friends with him forever.
Yeah.
He's like our family. Our kids love him. He stays at our house. He's wonderful. But when I had Cash, he was hunting deer, elk, and moose all within a few 2 weeks or something. He had a combo tag. And he kept calling me after every time and be like, Andrea, you good? you good? I know that baby's coming. I'm like, don't worry, Brandon. It's good. And then he would call. He'd be like, we got our deer today. You still good? I'm like, we're still good. I'm still going to sit here. And then after he killed that last animal, I went in the next day and had our cash. So, yeah. It definitely worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had some pretty interesting deliveries along the way while we've been on the hill.
Because they seem to all come during hunting season. I don't know.
I've fortunately made all of them, but one was a very close call.
Yeah.
I was in Wyoming guiding a group from Cabela's, actually filming a show,
Yeah.
and Andrea had called. She had gone into labor and called her mom and had her mom run her down to the hospital with all the kids in the car and everything. And she was at the hospital or close to the hospital by the time they called me. And it was lucky they got me because my cell phone didn't work very good out there. And she had told me that she's at the hospital. And I just looked at my hunter and said, someone will pick you up later on. I'm out of here. And I left him on the hill and took off and called and told the guys at camp where I left my hunter. And I got on the road and I was pulling a trailer behind my truck with 2 Rangers on it. And I remember going down I-80 Echo Canyon, and as fast as my truck would let me go, the governor kept kicking in and slowing me down. And I pulled off the side of the freeway and just on the shoulder of the road and dropped the trailer and took off into Salt Lake. And I couldn't remember the exit to the hospital to get on, so I was on the phone with her mom, and I took the wrong exit, and I'm
He started
worried I'm going to...
all upset. My mom's like, you have to talk to him. And I was thinking, I'm in labor, and he is freaking out because he doesn't know how to get here.
I'm thinking I'm going to miss my kid being born, and so I finally made it to the hospital. I had to run a few red lights to get there, and got off on the wrong floor. I mean, everything that could go wrong was going wrong, and finally got on the right floor and was headed down to the room, running to the room, and I had nurses hanging off of me, like trying to tackle me in the hallway because I'm in camouflage clothes, big beard, just
huge beard.
They didn't know what was going on.
He had not showered for probably a week, and I am sure they were nervous.
So they were nervous of who this crazy guy is running down the hallway, and I think I had 2 or 3 of them hanging on me, and I'm just dragging them to the door. And I opened the door up, and the doctor who's delivered all of our kids, he kind of yelled at the nurses and said, "He's fine. That's the father letting me in." And they wouldn't listen to me, but they listened to him. And I'd no sooner walked around the foot of the bed and got up to the head of the bed and said, "How are you doing?" And within 30 seconds, Ava was born.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it was as close as you could get.
Crazy.
So... Yeah.
That was meant to be, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was a pretty close call,
But through all of the crazy, it's been so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
We've been very blessed.
Yeah, we have.
That's what the world needs to see more of is a story like this of working so hard to achieve stuff and building a family and having a happy marriage. You just don't see that hardly anymore in this world, and that's sad. So you guys really deserve a big kudos for that.
No, it's been a lot of hard work. I'm surprised he's still sticking with me.
That's
No, it's been really cool.
Yep.
So, and I think it's one of the most rewarding occupations you can have.
Sure.
I've grown up hunting my whole life and hunted everything you can hunt, and I get as much more enjoyment now taking kids or taking first-time hunters or taking people out and showing them what I've been able to do my whole life and experience and point out things that they just don't think about, whether it's a sunset or a sunrise or the colors of the trees, stuff that's part of hunting more than just killing the animal.
Yes.
Killing the animal is the smallest part of a hunt, in my opinion.
It is. It's about the hunt.
I agree.
Yeah.
The hunt, and that's what we give these guys is the experiences. These guys and gals that come out. A lot of ladies hunt with us. A lot of couples are coming out, and we give them the experience, the whole aspect. It's very rewarding to be able to do that, and I mean it gives you more joy than if you were doing it yourself.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
pretty neat.
I've always said I feel guilty sometimes because I see and experience things that 95% of the people in the entire world never will.
That's right.
And you can try to capture it on film, and it's not the same. You don't feel it. You don't.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's right. And they'll take that memory one time on a 5-day hunt and talk about it the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and the next 5 days we're doing another one, and the next 5 days we're doing another one.
Yeah.
I mean, in 20 years of guiding, I wouldn't even dare guess how many people I've been able to take on the hill, but I mean, it's probably pushing 1,500 or 2,000
Yeah.
personally guided.
Wow.
And been a part of, and as a business a lot more than that. So
Sure.
we've been able to hopefully make a difference in a lot of people's lives.
Oh, you
I
have.
felt that we have.
Yeah, I've only known you for 2 years, and I've seen several lives touched already, and even just like with this isn't even the hunting part, but we've got probably 50 people here, and this will impact their lives forever too.
Yeah.
So the ladies'
Absolutely.
camp is a huge thing, and you have groups coming in all the time. You had a shooting group before we were here. Last year you had a group from a TV show that was here for a month.
Yeah. Discovery Channel was here filming a documentary, and that was kind of a hectic time, but it was. We've
We
met
learned
some.
a lot
Yeah,
quickly.
learned a lot real quick, but as much as we're able to teach them, I pick up something from almost every client that I take out.
Yeah, for sure.
I've never been afraid to ask for people's opinion, because a lot of the people that come out are very established, wealthy, smart businessmen, and I've never been afraid to ask their opinion on what we can do better, how can we what are they looking for that we can improve on, and getting their advice. And that's had a huge part in us being successful. It's
Yeah.
not thinking that you know everything and you've been doing it 20 years, so you've got to figure it out. I mean, every year we change something,
Yeah.
So, and on a 5-day hunt, the neat thing about that is you meet your client the first night, whoever you're paired up with, and you make a plan how you're going to hunt the next morning and what you're going to do and their physical level and what they're looking for, and you know everything before day one of the hunt. And then as you start hunting, day one, day two, you're on the hill all day with just you and that person. So you start knowing them, and they start telling you things about them, and you're just a sounding board. So I tell my guides all the time, you just listen to the clients, and they just, you know more about them by the time they leave in 5 days than their best friend or their spouse does in a lot of times. So
Right.
you can just how you react or what you say to them, you can make a pretty big difference in their life, and that's as important to us that our guides do that as it is, harvesting an animal or, just what you can change in somebody's life. Just being on the hill and being with them is, in my opinion, more important than killing the animal.
Exactly. That's cool, though. That's cool that that's so important to you.
Yeah. It's very important, and to our guides. So we've been pretty blessed. It's been a pretty cool deal. So.
Okay. You mentioned we'll do a couple more things. I know we're running out of time here, but you mentioned wounded warriors and taking disabled kids.
Yeah.
Or, terminal kids on hunts. Can
Yeah.
you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we try to do 6 or 8. Last year, I believe we did 8 wounded warrior hunts, all levels of, PTSD. We've done a lot of double and triple amputees on the hill and taken them on their very first hunt, elk or deer. And those are the most rewarding hunts that we do all year long, and I make sure I'm around to be a part of that. Because the sacrifice they've made for us, whatever we do, you can never repay them.
Exactly.
And all of them I have just really, really awesome memories from. But one in particular, we took a kid out. His name was Chris. He was a bomb technician in Afghanistan. And a bomb blew up in his face, took his sight, took his right arm off, and he wanted to hunt elk. So when this guy called me and said, I've got a blind vet with one arm that wants to kill an elk, can we do it?
Wow.
And I was like, well, I think we probably can. Bring him out. So Night Force teamed up and with another gun company, and they made a special gun that had a camera mounted behind the scope that we could run to a laptop, and we could see the crosshairs. If he could just lay down and put it in his left shoulder and just lay his head down, we would tell him to move left, right, up, down, and put the bull in the crosshairs on the bull. And we'd worked at this hunt for 5 days, and we have 6 people following him around everywhere we go. And it was hard. We got set up on a lot of bulls, and they wouldn't stand there, and we just couldn't put it together. And the last day of the hunt, a bull came from off of the property that we could hunt, jumped the fence onto us, and stood there, broadside, big 6-point bull. 6 guys scrambling, opening up the laptops, plugging in cords, getting Chris on the ground. And finally, we have this bull in front of us, and it's 5 minutes. I mean, elk don't do what this elk does, never.
Wow.
And he was able to harvest that bull one shot, and we picked him up by the hand, and he we led him over to the bull, and he got down on his knees and felt it, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Wow. That's all you can say to that is wow. And that, I mean, all of them touch my heart. The hunt of a lifetime, we've taken some terminal kids out hunting, and those are very touching, but I lost a very close nephew in Afghanistan, and so helping the wounded warriors is super, super near and dear to my heart. In fact, his very best friend went back 2 more tours in honor of Corey. And it's kind of funny because Corey's a redneck, kind of like me, just a country bumpkin. And this kid, he's a Booker. He's a great big old black guy from the Bronx in New York. And he calls me Aunt Candy. And his dream is to go on a bear hunt with his Aunt Candy. And so, so that's very near and dear. And I appreciate you guys doing that. And with the children, too. That's just super, super cool.
Well, we're that's what keeps us going, and we're able to give back that way, and it's far more rewarding for us to do it than it is for them, but it's something that I will always do. I will never not do that. That'll come before paying clients every year, so it's pretty rewarding. A lot of people out there, some pretty special people that deserve a lot more than what they have, so we've been blessed more than we would ever thought of we would ever get to this position, so we'll always try and give back. So,
well, thank you guys. I know I've taken up a lot of time, so that was an awesome one, and I love what you guys are doing. I love your heart in everything that you're doing, and how much you reach out to others and keep doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you guys coming out. You do awesome things for these ladies.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very cool.
It does. It does change their lives, and that makes everybody's hearts happy.
Absolutely.
Yep. That's what it's about.
Yes.
So.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoyed this week's podcast, and remember, it's not always perfect, but it is always real with Extreme Desire. Please always remember we cannot continue without social media these days. Once again, we ask that you like us, Randy and Candy Yow's Extreme Desire, on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please check out our website, extremedesiretv.com. See you next week, same place, same time.